If you've been viewing my channel for a while, you've probably seen my video reviewing the Ace Attorney Trilogy. I had great fun making that video, so in this video I'll be reviewing the Danganronpa Trilogy under the same four categories: stories, character, gameplay, and music. We start off with Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc. If you watched my earlier video on this game, you know how I feel about this game. It's so suffocating, and that's a good thing. For the story sections, I'll be primarily focusing on the cases, as they're when the story moves along the most. I like the twist that the first chapter pulls. Twists in first chapters would later become the theme, but in this game I was completely blindsided the first time I saw it. Sayaka being an attempted murderer completely shocked me. The twist in Case 2 is also fantastic. It's probably one of the best written stories about gender identity in a video game I've seen, especially coming out of Japan. Chapter 3 is meh, which is actually better than the other Chapter 3s in this series. I love the Chapter 4 Suicide. It has so many great character moments, especially from Aoi and Byakuya. Chapter 5 doesn't live up to the next two Chapter 5s, and Chapter 6 is meh. It's just a giant plot dump. The final twist that Junko Enoshima is the real mastermind and that her twin sister Mukuro is masquerading as her in the beginning of the game really did surprise me as well. I think it's pretty well done. During the investigation it became increasingly obvious though, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing. I'll give Trigger Happy Havoc's story a 9 out of 10. I said this in my video on why there will never be another game like this again, but it bears repeating. The Trigger Happy Havoc characters are the most realistic of any Danganronpa game. Obviously, they're still anime as all hell, but if you remove some of those anime traits, you could actually meet these people in real life, especially characters like Aoi or Leon. My favorite characters are Makoto, Kyoko, Byakuya, both versions of Toko, and Chihiro. Yeah, I'm kinda basic when it comes to this game. Junko as a villain in this game kind of disappointed me, to be honest. I didn't really like her at all, and not in the way you're supposed to dislike the villain. Her motivation is kind of stupid, to be honest, at least from a writing standpoint. She's just evil. That's it. She's evil. The characters in this game get an 8 out of 10. Gameplay is the most bare bones it ever was, obviously. It's fine enough, but it's nothing to write home about. Some of the Hangman's Gambit answers were really stupid too. Schizo? Toko doesn't even have schizophrenia. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. The soundtrack for this game is pretty good. Not as good as the next two, but I don't hate it. It's really missing that song that hypes you up after pointing out the contradiction though, which is something I didn't notice until after I played the next two games. My favorite tracks are soundtrack gets a 7 out of 10 from me. Thusly, Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc gets a 7.25 out of 10. Now we move on to Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair. Story is mostly up with one major down, Chapter 3. I have a whole video on it, so if you want to see me go deeper, check that out. Basically, it's a stupid motive with a massive plot hole to boot. The Nagito twist in Chapter 1 is done fine. Chapter 2 kills off my favorite character, so I hate it with a burning passion. Not to mention Chapter 2 has a lot of filler in it. They could have cut like half of it and still had a perfectly coherent plot. Chapter 4 is great. Figuring out the funhouse and everything was extremely fun, and I really had to use my brain on that one. And Gundam is probably the best they've ever written a sympathetic villain. Everyone knows Chapter 5 is fantastic. Its twist, and especially the character reactions to it, are incredibly well done. Chapter 6 is actually okay for a 6th chapter. It was very nostalgic for me to run around Hope's Peak, which is funny because I played this game like only 6 months after beating Trigger Happy Havoc. The twist that it was all a simulation was okay. Not perfect, but I don't hate it. It's pretty interesting that this twist was telegraphed at the beginning of the game, though. I thought nothing of it. I'm gonna have to go with a 9.5 out of 10 here. This game has higher highs than the first, that I look back fondly upon. The characters in this game went a little bit more into the whole anime archetypes and the like. However, a few of the characters are still grounded in reality, which helped me connect with them through their free time events. My favorites are Mahiru, Hajime, Nagito, Gundam, Mikan, and Fuyuhiko. As a villain, I like Junko a bit more in this game. It's probably because I already knew her by this point, so I knew what to expect. Alright, characters get a 7 out of 10. A slight step down from the first game, but still good. Gameplay takes a slight step up here. They added quite a few new things. You can now take statements from other people during non-stop debates, and I love Logic Dive. Improved Hangman's Gambit sucks though. 8 out of 10. The soundtrack is largely the same with some new additions. My favorite of those additions are I'm a sucker for 8-bit music. That and the addition of Class Trial Future Edition to add that hype Class Trial theme brings the soundtrack to a 9 out of 10. Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair is an 8.4, a bit lower than I thought it would end up being, to be honest. Danganronpa V3 is the most divisive in the series, and it's no surprise considering the twist. But what do I think? V3 honestly hits higher highs than either of the two other games. I genuinely think that Chapter 5 in this game is equal to Chapter 5 of 2 at the very least. Unpopular, I know. Chapter 1 is iconic. The fact that the whole time you're playing as the murderer yourself is a twist that I'll never forget. It was extremely well executed. The truth was hiding in plain sight the whole time, and just about nobody noticed. Chapter 2 is nothing to write home about. It's super forgettable outside the execution, and I don't play this series for them, which is why I hadn't mentioned any before this. Chapter 3 sucked. There was a massive missed opportunity, and they didn't take it. Chapter 4 is fantastic. The English version has some of the best voice acting the series has ever seen. Gonta and Kokichi's VAs go off during that class trial. Other than the fake protagonist twist, there's one other thing that this game is known for. The final twist. It's all fake. Everything. Fake. Your character's in a TV show with fake memories. Every other piece of Danganronpa media? Fake. Lots of people really hate this, and to be honest, I'm just mad with it. It's probably my least favorite of the 3 twists, but I don't hate it per se, at least not to the same degree as others, but I definitely don't like it very much. Like 2, this twist was actually a little telegraphed if you paid attention at the start of the game, but once again, I thought nothing of it. I'll give the story a 9 out of 10. I wanted to give it an 8 because of how I dislike the twist, but chapters 1, 4, and 5 are just too damn good. Alright, gameplay in this one is a bit better than the previous game. Hangman's Gambit doesn't suck nearly as much, which is an immediate improvement. I don't like Psych Taxi as much as Logic Dive though. Mind Mine was a nice addition once I got the hang of it. The back routes you can take through lying are definitely a good thing though. I think I only used one once outside of Chapter 1. Gameplay is a 9 out of 10. Alright, I'm gonna get some hate here. Outside of the main trio, I do not like the characters in this game. I didn't really connect with any of them the same way I had with characters in the previous games. This is when they went full anime, which I think was kind of the point, but I don't really like it. They feel a little too artificial for me. Shuichi, however, definitely has the best arc out of any protagonist, and he's way more of a character than the other two. Oh, an unpopular opinion among some, but I prefer Nagito over Kokichi any day. I still like Kokichi, he just feels like a slight step down. My favorites are Shuichi, Kaito, Maki, and Kokichi. It hurts me to do this, but the characters are a 5 out of 10 for me. Please don't dox me. Alright, this is the best soundtrack in the series. I don't think anyone disagrees. Cue people disagreeing in the comments. Every track is remade, and there's a ton of new ones. My favorite tracks of the new bunch are Alright, I'll stop there. If I kept going, my audience retention rate would hit 0. Easy 10 out of 10. And Danganronpa V3 gets an 8.25 out of 10, which puts it just barely under Danganronpa 2. That's actually how I felt about it before writing the script, so it's good to see that my opinion stayed the same. I love all of these games, truly. Be sure to contain your fights in this comment section only. I don't need anybody pulling up on someone else in real life. Thank you for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe.